Hi. Sorry I'm late today. I was with my son who had a half a day today. He's a teacher too. I'm so proud of him. Um, so we're going to start with a hypomania checklist, hypomanic checklist. So this is going to be different than a mania checklist. And we can go over the differences again, if not today, another day. Okay, so hypomania, a distinct period of up, happy, optimistic, or irritable mood lasting for at least 4 days. Inflated self esteem, feelings of grandiosity, decreased need for sleep, feeling rested after only a few hours, feeling more talkative than usual, feeling pressure to keep talking, racing thoughts or thoughts that seem to take flight, easily being distracted by seemingly irrelevant or unimportant things, increased goal directed activity, cleaning, organizing, working on projects more than is usual for you, excessive involvement in pleasurable activities that have a high potential for negative outcomes, like unrestrained shopping sprees, sexual hookups, or foolish business investments. Okay, so that's hypomania. Although, just elevate all of that a little bit and you would get mania. Um, okay, then I'm going to read a little bit about mixed episodes and a little more about bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. And let's see how that goes. Um, in addition to three distinct elements of bipolar disorder, depression, hypomania, and mania, there's also an odd expression of the illness that we refer to as a mixed episode, a blend of manic and depressive symptoms. The most common form of a mixed episode occurs when a person experiences that which we refer to as rapid cycling, a rapid shift back and forth between manic and depressive symptoms. These shifts can occur over several times within an hour, or they can be spread out over the course of an entire day. If you've experienced a mixed episode, you know it's quite the roller coaster ride with sharp ups and sharp downs, compressed into relatively brief time periods. A less common occurrence is when manic, and depressive symptoms are truly mixed. An example would be someone who's experiencing depressed mood, diminished appetite, and suicidal ideas, the depressed symptoms, while also experiencing elevated energy, racing thoughts, rapid or pressured speech, and decreased need for sleep, the manic symptoms. Okay, so that would be rather unusually looking from somebody outside of the person. And I don't think people talk about mixed episodes enough, but we brought it up again, and maybe I can find some more to create an all episode on that. I kind of go with where I go. Okay. So, bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. We've discussed the range of different symptoms and the different mood states. There is one more important distinction between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Bipolar 1 corresponds with what we used to call manic depression. It's when a person has experienced a major depressive episode and a full-blown manic episode in no particular sequence. With bipolar 2, a person has had a major depressive episode and a hypomanic episode. Bipolar 2 tends to be as mild or more functional form of the disorder. However, it's also important to note that sometimes bipolar 2 can be a precursor of bipolar 1. That's actually something that I didn't look at it that way. So let's say that one again. However, it's also important to note that sometimes bipolar 2 can be a precursor of bipolar 1. So it's bipolar 2, and then you get at some point full mania, and then you have to diagnose that as bipolar 1 then. In other words, a major depressive episode that occurs before or after a hypomanic episode can present as early phase of bipolar 1. Just as volcanic eruption can be heralded by less explosive venting of a volcano, bipolar 2 can be a sign that bipolar 1 is about to develop. I forget this chapter, man. There is no way of knowing whether someone diagnosed with bipolar 2 will ever develop full manic symptoms and thus cross over into bipolar 1, just as there is no way of knowing whether a volcano's venting of smoke and ash means it's about to erupt. But what we do know is that sooner hypomanic symptoms can be stabilized, and the longer a person's mood can be kept stable, the less likely it is the symptoms of full mania will suddenly emerge at some point in the future. If the volcano quiets down or only vents with mild to moderate force, then we have more hope that we don't see a full eruption. So that is an extended metaphor. Let me read it again because it's an extended metaphor. If the volcano quiets down or only vents with mild to moderate force, then we have more hope that we won't see a full eruption. I'm not laughing because this isn't serious. I'm not. You now have an overview of the most symptoms related to the diagnosis of bipolar disorder. If you're not absolutely clear as to whether or not you fit the criteria for this disorder, that's fully understandable. If you had 100 people in a room, all diagnosed with bipolar disorder, you'd find each person's experience would be different from everyone else's. Très important, which means in French, very important. I'm highlighting this, baby. I don't know why I didn't highlight it before when I read this book. Let me highlight and then this is crucial. I'm highlighting it, starring it, bracketing it. This is quite important. Très important, as the French say. If you had 100 people in a room, all diagnosed with bipolar disorder, you'd find each person's experience would be different from everyone else's. There would be some recurring themes, but still expressions of mood, range of emotions, and frequency and intensity of mood changes would be different for each person. Very important, man. Somehow I have to leave a permanent holy card, which holy cards I use for bookmarks. I'll just show you real quick. This is a Christmas holy card, okay? So anything that has to do with faith becomes a bookmark for moi. That means me in French. The important thing to keep in mind is that our checklist and discussion of different aspects of disorder are not in any way meant to replace a full diagnostic assessment. If anything, they are meant to give you a clear enough idea of the symptoms and patterns involved in the disorder that you can determine whether additional consultation is needed. Bipolar disorder can be quite serious enough to land you in a hospital, and certainly not something to run from, though we understand that that might be exactly what you want to do. If you're simply unsure about yourself or someone else, it's important to seek professional help. And I want to remind you This comes from the Facing Bipolar, copyright 2010 by Russ Fetterman, PhD, and J. Anderson Thompson, Jr., MD. Was excellent, excellent for my dissertation. And Fetterman has written more than one book by himself, with others. This is a very good resource. Okay, so I must be getting views because I was able to be on my channel on my laptop today. And it feels like spring. So I think everybody's in a naturally better, pleasant mood. And I hear that we may have to go back to winter temperatures a little bit after a couple of days, but this was so nice to see the sun today. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye.